seeing what it is that they're doing, and I'm like, I'm just having my mind blown all the time. It's awesome. It's such a treat to be able to play with them. So don't leave a gig and be like, oh, I suck ass. Like, just do you have the support, either internally or externally? And nice, like, awesome. Like, just doesn't fucking happen. Like, even to the best players, like, because I was just trying to figure out, like, what the hell was going on. I was, like, untouchable.
Yo, what's up? This is Toru, music producer, entrepreneur, and host of this show, Producer Head. Today's episode is with Birocratic, a monster producer in his own right and friend of the show. If you haven't already, I can't recommend enough that you go back to episode 9. It is a 2-part episode where we cover so many things. For this one, I was fortunate enough to be in Brooklyn. He was kind and hospitable enough to invite me into his studio where we had this conversation. We talk about being the least experienced person in the room, the importance of listening, building sustainable habits, and redefining success in today's music industry. Let's get into it.
I mean, I think what's motivating about it, like, at least sort of what we were talking about, is like I'm playing in this band, and I feel like the other players in this band they've really just put in a lot more time and like work than I have, frankly, on our respective instruments. And so it's one of those situations where I feel like I'm one of the, I'm the dumb guy in the room, so to speak. And what's really cool about it, that I was also telling you earlier, we've been hanging out all day.
Yeah.
So this is, coming 4 hours into our hang is when we're recording this. But I'm really motivated because I'm like seeing all these things that I don't know yet and like could be sort of like could be better at, and also ways in which the other three of them are like having fun with each other. I'm like not really on that level yet, so I'm just seeing like, and I'm trying to like understand there's like a humor element to the way that they play and they like mess with each other. And I'm like, I just straight up don't know how to do that. Like I don't know how to play in a way. I don't have quite the same repertoire of like musical quotes, for example, to pull from, and I just don't have the experience. So like I'm seeing what it is that they're doing, and I'm like, I'm just having my mind blown all the time. It's awesome. It's such a treat to be able to play with them. So I think you need to be balanced, if your professional endeavors include you being the dumbest person in the room all the time. Maybe you just have some work to do.
Yeah.
On your own. But I think if like once in a while you experience that, I think it's a great place to be, personally. It's humbling, but I think it's like kind of shows you an honesty that like, I don't know, I personally crave as a musician, where like very few things are cut and dry in this world of playing music. Like there's no right or wrong or anything like that. If you just kind of know that you're being led by some people and you are able to earn and keep the trust of those people, like you're doing great. Like you can keep that, it's going to benefit you, I think.
Yeah. Can you speak at all, like, what does it sound like in your head when you're up there, you're jamming with these guys, and you're experiencing those moments where you feel like, oh, like what they're doing is maybe something that I feel like from a technical perspective, like, whoa, like that's a different level.
Well, I mean, they'll just, so like I'm, for context, I'm playing bass in a quartet. There's keys and vocals, guitar and vocals. I play bass, I do some backgrounds, and then a drummer who also does some background vocals. So the three of them all like really study, and that's like their full-time job is like playing their instruments.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm more of a beat maker producer by trade. And I've kind of gotten into playing bass sort of like in a sideways, like just self-taught kind of way. So for context, yeah, when I'm up there, man, it's like, I'm just trying to hold it down as best I can and just play the songs as I know them. We're playing pop songs, so we're playing like 70s R&B. When I say pop, I mean like Stevie Wonder and like Earth, Wind and Fire and some like yacht rock, some Michael McDonald and Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan and that kind of stuff. So kind of in that world of like 70s, some early 80s stuff, mixed in with a few more recent pop hits, but that's the majority of it. And so a lot of those, like the bass lines are pretty like formulaic or like straightforward, and they kind of don't change throughout the song. And so when I hold it down, what I've realized is like the guys are gonna like go off. They're gonna solo and do some like modal like chord substitutions and like shit I can hear, and so, if you give me time I could work it out, but in the moment I'm a little too focused on just making sure I'm playing the song right, because that's what I gotta focus on. So what I see is like the gap between myself and them is being able to really listen to the point where I'm confident enough in the material and in my technique that I can like play all the parts really well and with great feel, which I feel pretty comfortable about. But also that when they go off, I can follow where they're leading and not just like kind of hold down the bass line the way it's written and just be like, cool, I'm here and they're going off. But to be like, oh, you're going there, I'm following you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of developing my ear. It's a lot of like learning their specific styles as instrumentalists too, because like over time I'm going to hear them doing similar things like, over the course of many gigs. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like getting better at listening, not focusing on myself as much, which is, you know, one of the biggest aspects of becoming a good musician. I think it's just like learning how to kind of like sink into the background of your own experience and really be focused on everybody else.
Yeah, are there things that you think that have helped you, like, because it feels like listening in that context is different than listening to like recordings in the studio?
Oh God, yeah.
But also, there must be things that you feel like you've done or listening exercises that you've kind of, and skills that you've picked up in the studio that do translate. And so like, are there like kind of deconstruction or listening things that you've intentionally done in the studio to help you be a better producer?
I mean, like, not short of like learning songs, not really. Because I think it really all just comes down to developing your ear, and I think bass is really fun for that because in like an elementary way, I'm just like, okay, what is the root note of whatever chord is being played is a pretty straightforward like challenge. You know, if you put on any song that's in like the pop world, short of like, you know, some more complex, like Stevie Wonder, for example, is changing keys all over the place, and his chord qualities they're just more complicated, more interesting. So he can be a little tough to like pluck out the first time you listen to it. But a lot of music, I think if you give it the time, and I don't know, like you have to develop your ear. It's exercise wise, I would just say like one by one, like learn songs that you're interested in, that sound good to you. And just do your best to, with whatever skills you have at the moment, figure out what's going on. Whether that means you're just trying to pluck out a melody on the keyboard. It doesn't have to be the chords even, just be the melody. Like just associating what you hear with what you can play, I think is crucial for like developing musicianship. I think people call it like audiation. Also, like being able to imagine sound. So if you can hear something and then play it back in your head and deconstruct it in your head as you're playing it back in your head, then you're learning the material.
It's like sort of hearing a lick and then like being able to see where that would be on the guitar, for instance.
Exactly. So connecting the like ear center of your brain, the aural center of your brain, with either the visual or like the muscle, the mechanical side, I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, because I think if you're somebody who plays an instrument, you're definitely like, okay, like ear training and that kind of like transcription, I guess, is like something that's like a fundamental part of like playing an instrument.
Yeah.
Also, if you're a producer who maybe is more in the box and you don't really play instruments much, I'm wondering, like, I don't know, how do you demonstrate like the incentive, or like how that can be something like worthwhile when you're like, that's not something I'm trying to do, is necessarily like play.
Well, even if you're not playing an instrument like live in front of people, you're still writing music if you're in the box. To whatever degree, you know, you're either clicking in MIDI notes or what have you, or even just choosing like chord samples from a library, you know. And I just think there's a lot to like understanding what's going on. And I don't know if this really answers your question, but like, I don't know. I just think it's good to know what's happening. And if you can challenge yourself to just like understand the theory, or even just like what chord quality is happening, or what key you're in to begin with, every little bit goes a long way. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
I feel like you're describing something that's sort of like, you kind of fly blind to not kind of have a sense for at least what you like in some kind of, it doesn't mean you have to be like incredibly academic about it, but to your point, even understanding like chord qualities, like I like a major chord, a minor chord, or there are these extensions, there's like a 7 or a 9 or whatever it happens to be, understanding like music that you like, and like what even those just like those really specific subtle details are like go a long way to helping to kind of just like appreciate what it is you like more, and it's inevitably going to find its way into like what you make, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It always will. I kind of liken it to if you're doing like some deep listening on something and you're trying to suss out how a sound was made. You know, you hear a record that's like, you know, I don't know, I'll go back to like Flying Lotus is one of the first producers that I listened to religiously, because I was just trying to figure out like what the hell was going on. I had no idea what kind of sounds were coming at me. It was really cool trying to just like experiment when I would sit down at Ableton. How do I get this? and sort of reverse engineering that. It's the same thing as sitting at a keyboard and trying to figure out what chords are happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a slightly different, like, it's less sound and it's more music, harmony, melody, that kind of. But it's just, they're very complementary skill sets and complementary, like, types of ear training. And it just requires you to sort of, like, sit down with your tools and sort of figure stuff out. And I think focusing on one of them is awesome, but I think things really come together. Things have always come together better for me when I can understand what's happening. And musically speaking, it just, like, saves time. Like, if I'm in a studio session and I'm like, oh yeah, I heard the song the other day. I know that the progression was 1-6-2-4 and it just felt good.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I can just hit that. It's I don't know. But I'm lucky. I've been studying piano, or I, like, studied piano when I was a kid, so I, like, just kind of had a decently developed ear when I was young. So I think it just comes, like, easier for me, and it's probably easy for me to say all this stuff, just because I'm, like, I don't know. I've definitely had a lot of practice with developing my ear. There's a limit to that too. Like, I'm not that well versed in, like, jazz harmony, so I'll hear stuff. When I'm playing with this band, for example, they'll go off into, like, totally out chords, and I'm like, all right, that's where I kind of have to tap out and go back and listen to it later and be like, what's actually happening?
Well, I think that what you just mentioned is really interesting to me. I think it's how contextual, like, a skill is in a way, right? Like, you've listened, you've trained these things, and you understand, like, a chord progression, but it's like listening in the studio or listening to a song and be like, oh, I can hear those changes, versus, like, going to a place where you're, like, playing live and having to adapt in real time, and you're dealing with, like, the live sound, like, I'm trying to hear this band in the room and adapt to what's happening. How, like, in a sense, it's the same thing. Like, I'm trying to use my ear to follow what's going on.
Right.
And at the same time, it's, like, completely different. And that it's a different, like, kind of subset of that same skill that you need to train in that context. That, like, being able to identify, like, kind of piano intervals or whatever in and of itself, single note intervals, is not going to be the same thing as, like, I'm in a room and I can hear that happening now and I can adapt my playing in the same moment.
Right. It's all, exactly. Like, it's very different, but at the same time, you can't do music without, and by that same vein, there's, then the question of, like, tone, right? Like, if you're playing the right notes, but you're playing them with the wrong tone, that's another part of your ear that, I guess, like, needs developing, perhaps. Like, it's, and I'm still working on this too. Like, I'm saying this as if I'm, like, I know anything. I'm just, like, I just think about this stuff because I'm doing it, and I'm confronting it because I'm like, damn, my ass needs to get better. Which, I'm glad. I guess that goes back to our earlier question about, like, being the dumbest guy in the room. Like, I'm being motivated to get better. So maybe I'm confronting a bunch of my, like, weaknesses right now, but, like, I'm grateful for that because now I'm really excited to get better at this stuff. It's going to take a while, but, like, I have a golden opportunity to continue working on it. So I'm just, like, stoked about that.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, I was asking you about this kind of hypothetically, like, would you be okay talking about this? And now we're, like, kind of just head first into it. But I think, so that's interesting though, right? In terms of, like, would you say that's something that you're good at, like, in terms of understanding where it is that, like, you have space to grow, like, where you're weaker, and, like, I'm going to go straight to that? Or do you typically avoid it? Does something, like, push you in? Because it is, I just think it's just, like, it's hard to dispute. It's like, oh, if I'm weak at that, like, the only way to get better at it's better. But a lot of the time, like, we just, like, avoid those rooms because we're like, oh, I'd rather, I'll just do this that I already know how to do, or continue to bolster something that's maybe a little stronger to begin with.
Yeah, I think it's totally contextual, man. I think, like what you said before, like, I'm in a place right now where I want to get better at this stuff, and I like hanging with the band. They're great guys, and so, like, just the opportunity, and, like, it's a paid gig, and I'm happy with the money. So, like, all the components are there for it to be like, yeah, why wouldn't I do this? It's a challenge, but, like, I feel supported. Maybe that's the thing, is, like, you need the support, whether that comes from yourself or it comes from the community or your collaborators or what have you. When you're facing down, like, the idea of trying to get better at something and maybe putting yourself in a position of, like, vulnerability because you are maybe less developed than the people that you're around, maybe it's a question of, like, just do you have the support, either internally or externally or both, that makes it feel worth it for you to pursue that and deal with the, like, vulnerability, whatever comes with that. Maybe the you know, the shame or whatever, you know, whatever it is that's just like, oh man, like I gotta, maybe not shame, but like hopefully not, but just the discomfort of being less developed than those around you. And that's where I think musicians have a responsibility to reach people who are less experienced than they are. I don't want to say reach down, because that's not necessarily what I mean, but like just reach out and like lend a helping hand and recognize that everyone's in a different place in their career. And like, you know, that can be a lot to ask and not everyone has the time, but I think that's like, if you do have the ability to do that and you can like reach out to people who are just like less developed than you, like I know I really appreciate it. I appreciate the shit out of this gig. I know everyone who's ever been in a situation where someone, you know, like the cool kid at the table was like, yo, come sit over here, figuratively speaking.
Yeah.
That feels awesome. And that can be a huge motivator. So, you know what I mean?
I do, man. I mean, I want to come back to that, but before I do, I want to ask you about, like, in that context of being that space where you feel like you've got people that are, you know, you're in a place where a lot of people can teach you something right now in that context. And I'm wondering, is there anything that they've shared with you that's like kind of been helpful to keep in mind in that context? Because I'm sure they don't want you to feel that way, right? They're happy to have you there. You're a part of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're also like, they're really good and they don't have to play with someone who's less experienced. So I want to be mindful of like not making it about me. And I think I tend to automatically anyway. I think my insecurity does like make its way to the surface, and I think that's part of the vulnerability and the discomfort is like, fuck man, like I'm acutely aware, probably more than I should be, and definitely more than I think is like reasonable. It's just a part of my personality that like, man, I'm really lucky to be here, you know, this imposter syndrome kind of thing is happening. So I think what I'm learning is that they don't really respond to that, and I gotta just kind of like put in the work. That's the only way that like I can get better anyway. Not by asking. I mean, I'll ask for help if I need to, but and they'll help me out. But I think I really just got to show up and like be focused and, you know, do the work on my own end. And I was telling you before that I recorded our last set. There was a videographer who came through, so I was like, all right, I should get some actual like board mixes, some quality sounds, so they're not just like using the camera audio. But the result of that was I was able to listen to myself, and I've been recommended that a lot as like a learning tool by teachers in the past, and haven't really had an opportunity to do it. And it was fascinating hearing myself back, because there's some moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking nice, like awesome, like, you know, certainly some times I'm like, dude, I like good shit. And then plenty of moments where I'm like, that is not acceptable, like what I just did, and like, you know, I felt like my playing kind of dipped, and like, you know, I just wasn't paying close enough attention, which I think is my biggest problem right now. It's just like not like being a little bit too internal. You know, I'm just like pretty new to playing with people. Like I've never done it consistently. So I think that's a pretty normal thing for musicians to go through, is like figuring out how to like get your muscle memory such that you don't have to think about what you're doing really. You can just hear it and hear everybody else and hear how you fit in, and sort of you're living several beats into the future when you're playing. So I'm figuring out how to do that. So I, you know, and I don't think there's any way to learn besides just practicing, just doing it.
Yo, real quick, make sure you're subscribed at producerhead.substack.com. When you subscribe, you'll have a chance to submit your released music for features, send in work in progress for feedback, and you'll get 2 free production tools: The Invisible Instruments and Sonic Stimulus Volume 1. The Invisible Instruments is a collection of ideas to help you in and out of the studio, and Sonic Stimulus Volume 1 is a royalty-free sample pack created entirely by me, Toru, for the Producerhead community. Again, that's producerhead.substack.com. Subscribe for feature and feedback opportunities, plus you'll get Invisible Instruments and Sonic Stimulus Volume 1 for free. Subscribe for free at producerhead.substack.com. All right, let's get back into it.
I mean, the one thing that you mentioned, right, the recording piece, like no matter what you're doing, getting some, because like we're always going to have like that internal dialogue that's happening about what's happening as it's happening. And there's limits to the accuracy of that, you know?
Of course.
And so the like getting like the objective data, right, no matter what you're doing, in this case, like recording yourself, even if you're somebody who's just playing acoustic guitar and you're learning a song, like the guitar sounds different when you're sitting behind it playing it versus then it sounds when you're in front of it. Like,
of course.
like there's so many things, and like what you're thinking so much about playing it if you're working through something that you're learning. So that getting that like kind of objective data, like it's like kind of ball don't lie kind of perspective where it's if you're getting the recording of what you're doing, like that's what it is.
Right.
And so to be like you're both right and wrong, right? It's like you're not trash. It's like there's moments where you're playing things that are working, moments where you're playing things that are working less.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm wondering like how do you have trouble with like the idea of like letting those moments like kind of seep in, like I played a wrong note or I played a part not as well as I had hoped, but letting that not seep, like keeping that separation from it doesn't make me a bad musician or a bad person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel that way. Like I don't leave a gig and be like, oh, I suck ass. You know, like I'm not that hard on myself. Yeah, I think the way I'm talking about it is really honest right now. It's just like, there's some moments where I like ate shit.
Yeah.
And then there's some moments like there was a whole like 4 bars where I like didn't know what key we were in. I was playing half step sharp. Like that is bad. Dude. That sounds bad and it throws people off. I'm embarrassed. Yeah. You know, but I'm not like that's me. That's what I do. It's like I fucked that part up. You know, like boo-hoo. You know, I'll remember that for next time and try not to do it.
Right. I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty like natural and innate like understanding that you have. I think it's also really easy to let those kinds of moments seep in to like almost like instead of it being just something that you did or a mistake that you made, that it's like a characteristic of who you are, and that can be so detrimental to like continuing forward, you know?
Fortunately, I don't feel like I'm at that place in my life. I think I've had my stretches. I don't know about you, where it's like, you know, mistakes can sometimes really, you feel like they're, okay. This is, there's a book that I read a while ago. This might be interesting. Called Learned Optimism. Okay. Which is, it's by this guy, it's a psychologist named Marty Seligman. He was like a researcher in like the field of positive psychology. He sort of like, I don't want to say coined it, maybe he coined that term, but it's a great book. I read it actually in college for a class that I was taking as like a gut, you know, just like credit elective sort of thing to get out of the way as like a humanities thing. And it ended up being like one of my favorite classes in college, because really it was just like, this was 2014 when I was in this class, and it was like just like learning like life strategies, like journaling, and like you like your homework was to like catalog your sleep for a week and like figure out if it had any effect on how you felt. You know, it's stuff like that that are like actually kind of life skills. If you're in any way interested in self-help, getting that primer in like a group setting was really cool. So anyway, this book is called Learned Optimism, and it's sort of a response to like learned helplessness, as this idea that like if you feel like what you do and what you put your effort into does not correlate to a reward in like a meaningful or like observable way, then you learn helplessness and you become depressed. And one of the ways that the research identified that people talk about themselves when they are in a state or like have the characteristics of learned helplessness is, I might get this wrong, this has been a long time since I read this book, but there's 3 P's. It's like your problems are personal, permanent, and pervasive. I remember it. Wow.
Test passed, yeah.
Yeah, dude, hell yeah. So personal, permanent, and pervasive. Okay, so this is a very roundabout way of getting back to what we were talking about, which is the idea that a mistake that you might make would be personal. Like that's my fault, right? Permanent being like I always do this, and pervasive meaning like this one's tougher than that. Pervasive being like that's always how, like that's how stuff goes,
right? Like throughout different facets of your life, it's like personal, work, whatever. It's
not limited to this context. It's part of the broader context of like situations that you can find yourself in. And not gonna lie, I was pretty fucking depressed in college, and this book helped me really see a lot of the way that I was talking to myself for what it was, and realized that if I made some changes to the way that I was talking to myself, like it might benefit me and contribute to some greater happiness. And it did. The book made a really big impact on my life early on. And I think I kind of, since then, I mean, I obviously slip up and we all have our moments, but like, I really catch myself thinking in a way that I'm like, man, I used to actually think this was like a character flaw. Like if I fucked up 4 bars of a song, I'd be like, you know, that's personal, that's permanent, like I'm bad at everything, and it's just me, you know? rather than like, yeah, I kind of couldn't hear that well up there. And it's really hard, especially when that song has like so much energy going on in the mid-range. It's really hard for me to hear the fundamentals of the notes that I'm playing because they kind of blend in a little higher up. And yeah, it's just like an hour and 45 minutes into playing, man, I was tired. Like, I wasn't fully there. And as soon as I recognize all those other factors and it sort of like depersonalizes it, it makes it sort of like, yeah, it's just kind of the moment. I'm not taking accountability and responsibility for it as a player, but I am just like, well, there were factors here that led to like this particular mistake.
It sounds like it taught you like this ability to kind of deconstruct a situation, you know, that instead of oversimplifying and be like, I fucked up, I'm trash, you know, that's just how it goes for me sometimes, you know, or all the time. But you're like, oh no, so what I'm curious about though is too at the same time is like, especially if you're somebody who if you're in a place where you're thinking and talking to yourself that way in a really negative kind of simplistic way,
right,
that it's easy to like kind of, I think, label this idea of explaining and like deconstructing variables to be like making excuses potentially, right?
Sure.
And like, how do you know the difference between like making excuses versus like kind of creating like reasonable explanations for what happened?
Well, I think it's just the degree of accountability you take for what happened. You know, because like I still recognize that I fucked up, you know, like, and that is purely on me. It's nobody else's fault. I mean, for like, I do the sound at this venue. Like I mix the band as we're playing, which is insane. I shouldn't be doing that, but that's what I do. So that's also my bad. Like, if I couldn't hear well enough, like, I am the one who is supposed to change that. So I still recognize that it was like fully on me, but I also give myself the grace of not just being like, these were perfect conditions, man. And instead, I recognize you just gotta take responsibility for it while also recognizing like, yeah, it's about giving yourself grace, which I think is important in music as it is just in life. Like, you're gonna make mistakes. If you're on stage playing an instrument for 2 hours and you don't make a mistake, like, good for you. I mean, like, you're something special. That just doesn't fucking happen. Like, even to the best players. Like, so I think it's really about like setting expectations. And for me, just as, you know, someone would in the studio, or like if you're an athlete, if you're training, if you're, you know, new to lifting weights, you're just going to be learning what your weaknesses are as you go. And you're going to maybe be like, shit, my shoulders really burn out before my back does. So I got to like hit that first. And, you know, and you don't know that unless you try and unless you are in that environment. And especially if you can go back and actually reflect on it after the fact, which is why the recordings are so cool. So, and in a way, like, you know, we can talk about like production now. Like, production is different because you're sort of, you're not necessarily playing something live and then like that is what it is. Like, you have the opportunity to undo things, and you have the opportunity to like go back. And so it doesn't feel as permanent and as like on the spot necessarily, like, especially if you're producing yourself and you're like alone in the box or whatever. It's like you have infinite takes, however long you want to take. So it's kind of all practice in a way. But when you're on stage, it's just a different process. So I think I'm just adjusting to that mentality right now, from a studio context where I'm used to being able to like do a million takes until I get something right, and then even then I can edit it and like, you know, flex it and change around the MIDI notes and every, you know, whatever it is. And you just don't get that luxury when you're on stage. So it's, you know, you kind of have to be a little sharper and develop a different mindset. And I don't know, I'm just kind of like learning that right now and being thrust into it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned kind of going into this idea of reaching out, and like when you're in a position where you're maybe ahead of somebody, you have something to offer it and to give, instead of like looking for opportunities where you can receive, you know? And so I'm wondering, like, I don't know, how do you go about doing that? How do you identify those things, or how do you, because I feel like people underestimate, I guess, what they can give, you know what I mean? Because I think we're just often coming from a place of being like, I'm not there, you know what I mean? And so when I get there, then I'll be able to do this. But understanding that, like, kind of, how do you develop awareness for what you have the ability to give where you are right now?
How do you develop the awareness? I feel like you just kind of, I don't know, you try it. I mean, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because I think there's like a parallel in this, in the idea of that there's like to develop an objectivity, instead of just being like, I'm this person that I'm not good enough, so I can't play in this band. You know what I mean? Instead, but like if you you're playing in this band, you can listen back and say, okay, there's things I'm doing well, things I'm not doing so well.
Right.
And wherever we are in our respective like careers, if you want to call them that, or like is what do you like there are always places you're trying to go. And I think we just put a lot of emphasis, and maybe we're just constantly reminded of like what it is that we don't have or what we think we need to get. And it kind of takes our attention away of, wait a second, like I have all of these other things that I could offer to people. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know, man. I think it's like, if you find yourself in a place that you're not necessarily comfortable, but you're interested in exploring, you maybe feel the vulnerability of like, all right, I'm a little like new to this or what have you. I think that's where being just like well-rounded comes in. Because again, like, okay, I'm talking about my nonstop. But like, for example, like what I'm going through, I just related to my own experiences here, but like what I'm going through right now with this band is cool because I work at the restaurant that we play at. I've worked there for 2 years. So like I was able to book this gig. Like I brought these people in. So like in a way there's a dynamic there that it's like, I would be tough to replace without like, this feels weird to say, but like just if I were on the other side of this, it'd be like Brandon got us the gig in a way. Like I'm so happy to play with them and it is a total privilege, but like I was the conduit to being able to do that. And I also do sound for the band, saving us money on the payout because I do sound at the venue to begin with. So it's like I know that I'm providing value in other ways. And at the end of the day, if, at some point they're like, hey man, you're not like, we gotta get a new bassist, I'd be like, that cool. Like that's information. Like I get it. I'm not a seasoned vet in the way that they are. And so if it's really not cutting it, like word, like thank you for letting me know. I'd rather be aware of that, that like my standard does not meet the standards of my peers or like people I aspire to call my peers. They are my peers. I mean, I feel like we are peers, but the point being, I'm not really afraid of like, I'm not precious about it because I know what's up. Like I try to look at it as objectively as possible, and I think you just have to step back and reflect. If you want to understand what it is that you're offering, record yourself.
Well, I mean that's cool, man. I mean, it's connected to the optimism piece for sure, right? Because you're like, if that were to happen, like them being like, hey, we're gonna replace you. It's like, it's not personal, right? And that's like a fundamental piece of like having trouble with being optimistic is to take everything personally, right? That's one. And then the second piece is in terms of what you can offer to just expand like the aperture a bit, right? And be like, I'm a full person with a lot of things going on in my life, and if I expand the scope, it's like everybody has something that they can offer, and it's connected to everything else that you do. And it's a great example of being like, hey, like I can get us a gig, right? And that gig helps everybody, and it's giving you this opportunity to play bass at the same time while working on live sound, front of house kind of stuff too. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So it's like, look, I know that it's a moment in time. If it's something that can materialize in 8 weeks of this happening the way it is, then like I got to be grateful for that now. I can't we can't hold on to things too much. We got to recognize that, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's I guess it's a form of optimism. It's just like shit's fleeting.
Yeah. Are there like kind of
gotta be grateful.
Are there things that you maintain like in terms of practices like around optimism that have like kind of stuck with you like from that book?
Practices maybe not as much. It's funny because it's one of the few like self-help books that I've read that I feel like I just kind of was like, cool, I'm gonna do that, and I just kind of figured it out. I don't really remember the process that much.
It's like a right book, right time kind of thing.
I guess so. Yeah, and I mean I was young. I was like a baby. I was like 21 when I read it. Like not that like there's probably people way younger than that listening to this, but you're still a baby if you're 21. You don't know fucking anything. I certainly didn't. I still don't, but I definitely didn't then. And so I don't really know. What I will say is I think giving yourself a lot of opportunities to try something and giving yourself permission to fail, whatever failure means to you at the moment, really helps. Because I think a lot of success is just being able to bounce back from failure. I mean, I think like anyone will tell you that. It's just like, yeah, the people who are the most successful like got good at failing, because you have to try stuff in order to succeed. total platitude, but like I think that kind of is the practice, and maybe what helps develop optimism is the ability to like reflect on things with that mentality, right? That this is, you know, to use the opposites, like impersonal, specific versus pervasive, and temporary versus permanent. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of like it happened and I messed up, but like whatever, like tomorrow I'll have another shot. That sounds so much better, you know, than, oh fuck, I suck at this, man. Like, God, like you're doomed if that's how you feel. So I think reflection for me, in the form of either journaling or just like recording stuff, even if it's like a video, sometimes I'll just take a voicemail, I'll walk around. If I need some like head clearing talk, you know, I'll just like record a voice memo and then walk around like to myself. I probably look fucking crazy, but that's New York. I definitely look less crazy than a lot of people.
You can blend it.
Yeah, I can blend it just fine. So I just kind of pretend I'm on the phone.
Do you read back on those or listen back to those?
Not usually. Usually it's just the process of getting stuff out. It's like venting to no one in a way, or just exposing like how I feel inside. That kind of helps me turn the corner and like close whatever loops are in my head or answer any questions I have. If I go back, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, what was I talking about or something? Like I can tell I was in a place that like wasn't healthy or like, you know, I wasn't thinking right.
Yeah, it's so odd. I mean, you just said this, but like in the sense that like how you feel can be so fleeting and generally is, but when you're in it and the more intense it is, it feels like it can last forever.
Totally.
And it can lead you down like, you know, it's not a good place to be making any kind of decisions from. And so it's like, it's pretty wise. Like, how did you learn that like maybe I should just take a walk and just record something I'm never going to listen to again, or write something down I'm never going to read again?
I mean, honestly, so we've talked a little bit about like morning pages, which is it's a concept that Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way. There's a book called The Artist's Way. It's like a 12-week course basically on like reclaiming your sort of like artistic spirit. And we've connected over that. You still do morning?
Yeah,
pages,
I mean, I'm not as crazy. Well, crazy is not a nice word to use for myself there, but I usually 5 days a week, like Monday to Friday. Like I used to be a 7-day-a-week person about it, but I've kind of tried to. But I struggle with basically like, because it takes me time. It's not something I can do quickly. If I'm in a really good place, like it takes me the fastest I can really ever do it is a half hour. It really takes me. It takes me closer to realistically 45 minutes to an hour.
And so if anyone who's listening right now, it's a very, very conscious of the audience. I don't know if anyone knows the morning pages, like specifically what they are. What are they, like, what do you do?
Process? And that's the thing is I guess technically what I'm doing, aside from the fact that it's in the morning, is not really morning pages, but the way that they're prescribed in the book, and I do highly obviously recommend like trying this out if you've never done it before, is it's sort of like a stream of consciousness thing. The idea is that you kind of move your pen as fast as you can, and you're not concerned with coherence, with handwriting, with anything, and you generally like do it, like the idea is you would roll out of bed and it would be the first thing that you do.
Right.
And it's because, you know, your head is in like that, you experience an interesting kind of thing as you wake up in the day. Your head is in this really unique place where you're like, can kind of still remember dreams, but you're also starting to think about what you're going to do that day, etc. And so when you write from that place, things start to fall out of you. You're kind of more vulnerable in a way. And so things will fall out of you that wouldn't otherwise.
Right.
And so what that does is just kind of give you, I think the way that I describe writing and the general practice of it in whether you do morning pages or just journaling of any kind, is it's like everybody checks the mirror before they leave the house, and it's the only way to kind of like get a chance to see your insides. It's like the closest you can get to seeing your thoughts. And so cool, I think of it as like an internal mirror, and it's and you're the only person that can create it, you know?
Right.
And so when you start to like see sentences, regardless of how well written or neatly written they are, essentially become like visible evidence of thought patterns. And so for me, it's been like, I think this podcast idea probably came out of one of those pages. I started writing about it. I was like, what if I did that? Cool. You know? Yeah. And so
that's awesome.
Now it's a long way to say, so that's what morning pages are, as far as I understand them. And then what I'm doing now, I would say, is morning pages in the sense that I'm doing them in the morning still. It's technically speaking not something I roll out of bed and do first thing. However, it is something that I could do to just like, it's a mixture of like still trying to like empty the head a little bit and like kind of let the noise fall away, and then also kind of organize myself and like kind of reaffirm things that I want to get done that day, or things long term that I'm kind of like kind of pointed towards.
Sure, it's like a check-in.
Mm-hmm.
Fair to say. It's like, so it's maybe like less of the virgin like morning like wooziness that you're like, yeah, and you know you're probably a little bit less inhibited in those moments. It sounds like it's a bit more of like you're really checking in with your life and like thinking long-term goals, medium-term, short, like what is in front of me today? Like I'm at the top of the day. I have my wits about me. Maybe do you do like before breakfast, after breakfast, like
I typically like my morning routine, I typically meditate in the morning, and then I'll make coffee, and then I'll sit down and do this. So I'm kind of drinking coffee as I do it, and so
coming up.
Yeah, like and the way that I'm writing, you know, well, definitely you could probably see there's a correlation between how much caffeine I had and the way that the page looks, how sweaty my hand is. But I think what's happening is that there are at least two voices that I believe that we generally live with. And so what those pages are about for me, I think, are getting those two voices to work together cooperatively. So the one voice is like having the big ideas, like the things that sound just like kind of wild, maybe they're like pipe dreams, or really like kind of just like these are just things that I want irrationally, things I think are cool. And then the other voice that's like more CEO and like organizational, like, hey, like, no, like grow up, like that's not what we're doing, you know, this is what we're doing.
The prefrontal cortex.
And so like all of that kind of executive function, right? So it's like what you're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do, is I think understand that like, okay, like maybe we're not going to do everything on this like Disney type list today. However, like we're not going to dismiss all of it either. And how can we like kind of, okay, like how can we take some of that and find a more organized path to kind of like bring some of this into existence and explore it and see what can happen. And so that's sort of what I mean by bringing those like two things together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a really cool way to look at it. I love that model. Like you have two different brains basically. You have, like, you know, something that's way more lofty and creative and like unrealistic, perhaps, and then you have the like part of you that gets shit done. And they got to be friends with each other. Like, those halves have to be friends with each other, and that kind of has to happen consciously. You kind of have to like sit them down in a room together and be like, here's what's up.
Yeah.
Here's what the day has in store for us. Like we can pay attention to only the creative, lofty shit, the Disney list, you know, and we're probably going to feel pretty bad by the end of the day if we only do that, because we're not going to get the stuff that we need to get done. We're not going to like maintain. And then if we only do the maintenance, we're also not really like letting our minds fly free, and like we're going to miss out on that sort of like really affirming, fun, playful creative process. So, and you know, like we're lucky to have the time to be able to like really dive into all this stuff. You know, for a lot of people, I think it's, you know, maybe you have a family, you work a 9 to 5, you know, you have a house, like all the, you're taking care of family, like whatever. You know, there's always seasons of life where things get more difficult, but like, it's possible to start really small with this kind of stuff too.
That's exactly where my head goes. Yeah.
You know, and I think it's really necessary. Like anyone I've ever talked to about it is like, yeah, or even like to this day, music is my fault. Like making music is my full time in various capacities, right? Like I play bass now, I do sound, I do mixing and mastering for people, I do like recordings. Like I'm involved in a bunch of different sort of different like skill sets and different like really just like intentions. When I sit down for like music time, it can look so many different ways, and they sort of come from different like centers of my like brain. You know, it's a different like source for playing bass versus recording my own beats that are like producing. So there's kind of the many voices at the table. They all have to talk to each other, but as long as I give like any of them or like most of them like a snack during the day, meaning like if I sit down at the bass for 5 minutes, even if I don't get a full practice session in, like it feels really good. That's cool. That can be enough for that day. I'm busy. Like I can't always sit down and just like give myself an hour every day. And I think learning how to be cool with that and just accept like, yeah, man, some days like I'm just not gonna be there for everything. But if I can just touch down, even if I just sit and think about it for 2 minutes in a way that I'm like, yeah, I love doing this. Okay, next, you know, it just keeps the ball rolling. And I think that's the most important thing for anything that someone else isn't asking you to do that you want to do for yourself, is just keep pushing a little bit.
Tiniest bit. That really is something that I feel really strongly about too. I think if you're listening to this and you're like, you know, that sounds cool. The idea of like writing and getting in touch with whatever's happening inside me that I'm maybe not paying as much attention to, but I don't have an hour a morning. It's like I'm really sensitive to that, and like I'm aware of like how fortunate I am to like do that. I also, you know, it's a decision that I make. Like I sacrifice, you know, in theory, it's more time I could spend in the studio, et cetera, et cetera. I have found that maybe if, you know, I spend less time, it's more focused time, and I probably am better off to have less time that's of quality and with intention than I am to just have more quote unquote time in minutes in the studio. And to your point, I think just a little bit is better than not at all. So it's like if you literally are like, all I have is 5 minutes, then do that, because 5 minutes of writing about it is going to be better than no minutes. And to that point about consistency, man, like I think that's come up on this so many times, but it's just like, I think long term, like what you can accomplish has everything to do with how many days in a row you can do something versus like how many like one-off days you can have that are 8 hours, you know? And so, and that guy James Clear in Atomic Habits, like he has this idea, like I think he calls like no zeros, which I like love, right? And the idea is just that like, just don't have a day where you don't do it at all, you know?
Right.
So it's like, even if you literally like only, to your point, like picked up the bass for 5 minutes, you played, right? And it's like, if you link 5 minutes together for days, it's better than not playing for days. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know, I think to just not underestimate the value of just like, because at least you still did carve out some time, and it shows that you know, you're thinking about it and you're willing to put some time in. Not doing it is like something that really like, you know, you don't stay in place, you know, like you just, it slowly kind of decays a little bit.
Effect.
Well, like that.
When you're not like, you know, juggling all the balls that are in the air, like gravity will fall. I see about the non-zero days, I'm a little bit too hard on myself to subscribe to that mentally. I do a no 2 days in a row. So I'm down to slip up.
I think he also says that same thing. Have you read that book? Yeah, I think he says that also.
Like, I read it a while ago. I haven't it's a cool book. Everything in it just makes so much sense. It's a very useful book, I think, for developing and or like curbing bad habits or developing good habits. I forgot that he said both. But yeah, I think that's a little bit more lenient. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm too easy on myself, but like I love a lenient set of internal rules, because I find that I am much more likely to do something if I just feel good about it. So if I set up a structure of expectations of myself that I'm like, yeah, that's achievable, and these goals are like something I can actually do, even if it's not the most ambitious, I'd rather do that. I'll relate to myself better, you know. I'll have more optimism surrounding this thing if it's like, actually, I finished the 5 minutes of bass playing and I'm like, damn, I got some fuel in the tank. Like, nice. That'll carry over until tomorrow. Versus if I try to squeeze 8 hours of playing into one day, or learning songs or whatever, and I'm tired, then it's going to take me a few days to want to even do that again. And I'm burning myself out. And it's just like a really rickety schedule to be giving yourself. And like I feel like anyone who's been to school knows the vibe of cramming or like writing an essay, pulling an all-nighter to like write a paper or whatever. And like, you know, hopefully we grow out of that at a certain point. I know I certainly was doing that all throughout school, but you know, actually there was 1 year, where I resolved to myself that I'm just going to do my homework as soon as I get home. It was like my senior year of high school. I was like, I just want to get this shit out of the way so I can have fun, because this is my last year. I'm going to be around my friends, you know, in high school. And I've never been happier. Like that was like the best relationship I've ever had with work, because it was like, yeah, just non-negotiable. I'm just going to do it immediately, right away, get it done as soon as possible. And that was the rule. And I was done before dinner every day, and then I got the rest of the day to like be creative and like record shit. Not that I feel like it's a very obvious point to make, but I think it's the same with everything. It's like you want to give yourself the non-negotiables. When it comes to something as negotiable as like pursuing art or music or what have you, that's a choice that you have to make for yourself and no one's going to make for you. So I think having like a set of non-negotiables that are really easy to achieve but still important, that's like the only place you can start from, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, man, like what I hear when you say some of that is just this idea of like structure and how powerful structure is.
Huge.
And so like when we're in certain phases of life, right, that structure can be like kind of imposed on us in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, with less time, we can actually be wildly more productive as a result, because like there's just like, we really feel like kind of that preciousness of the time that we do have
Mm-hmm.
because of the structure. So now that you're in a place where like you create the structure for yourself, otherwise it doesn't happen, how do you do that? In what ways do you struggle with creating that?
Oh, I struggle with it all the time. Yeah, it's hard. I recognize that I'm the kind of person, like, I feel like I'm a walking like billboard of ADHD. Like a lot of the time, I'm so scattered, and like I was telling you before we hit record, like I love novelty, and in some ways I've like built my life and my career around like being able to experience a bunch of different things and like learn a bunch of different things at the same time. But the result of that is I also get like a lot of whiplash, which is going from one project to another to another to another. It's like I do lack a lot of the consistency, and I'm just doing a lot of shifting my mindset, from like, oh, I'm like mixing this track here for my friend, and then I gotta go to like recording this here, and then I gotta go to a gig where I'm playing bass and doing sound, and I got, it's like just a lot of things that I think just for my mind, it's hard to keep up with all that shifting around. And so I think for me, what's worked structure-wise, maybe this is helpful for some of you, but like two tips. One is I do my morning pages essentially the night before, where I like to reflect on my day, and just like I have a little like automation in my phone that I think is like, I don't remember where I got it. It might be like built in or something. It was like really cool. I found this thing, but it's like every day like 11, like as I'm winding down, will prompt me with a couple questions, and just like type it in, and then it like puts it all in a note, and then just like throws it in my notes app in my phone, and it just like runs every day at 11 p.m. and it's just like, what happened today? And then the next one is like, how'd you do? It's like really broad questions that I always find myself typing in like a whole paragraph or something. By the end, I'm like, oh, that was a good like little progress report. Like, nice, okay, cool. And I go into like winding down for sleep like with that sort of in my head. So with that, then I just like write out my morning. Like, this is how I want my morning to go. This is what I like need to do. And I'll put everything, I'm so neuronic, dude. I'll put everything like in place so that when I wake up, I just have to like walk into my like dining room, kitchen area and just be like, okay, that's my like water bottle. That's my clothes that I will wear. Like, it feels, I'm like an idiot in the morning, man. I'm like a walking, like, I'm useless until I like get this stuff figured out. So I basically realized that if I take on the responsibility of like making my morning as frictionless and easy as possible before, then I just put myself in a good spot. And I'll be able to start my day with a lot more energy than if I'm like trying to make decisions as soon as I wake up. So between that structure, that is just like a daily check-in, it's a lot of work, and like I don't always do it. I need to be very clear that I'm I skip it a lot, but like when I do it, I'm in a good spot. And then the other thing is timers. Do you ever mess around with timers?
No, I know you feel passionate about them. Speak about it, and I do actually. So I use like I have a watch that I usually wear like Monday through Friday, like because it has a stopwatch and a timer on it.
Nice.
And so I like I track how much, like I try to be really. We were talking about this earlier. Like I believe strongly in like input focused measures, and so I just like try to be like, how much time do I want to spend on a session, understanding like how much time in a day or whatever I have realistically. My tolerance level for work. Right. And so talk about timers for you.
I don't know, they help me like break up the day into manageable, especially when I have a lot of different things like I was talking about, like that I'm bouncing back and forth between like, I gotta like do this mix and then do this recording, do this like all these different things that are like different clients and different like friends of mine, so like I gotta like adjust to their expectations versus whatever it is. It just really helps me like make everything less overwhelming and more manageable. So I will give myself whatever I think is like a reasonable amount of time to like do a task that I need to do. Multiply that by like 1.5 because it'll always take longer than I think it will. And then just like start a timer. And if it's like a really long period of time that I need to be doing something, then I'll like schedule in some breaks, stretch my legs. I don't want to be sitting at the desk for too long, to fix my posture, all this stuff. But yeah, I think for me, it's just like, it takes what can be an otherwise daunting day or like a daunting task where there's a lot to consider, and it just shaves all that shit away and just helps me focus on what it is that I need to do. And with that, I build in the permission structure that like wherever I am at the end of that is cool. Because I like if I'm trying to rush to finish something before before it's really like ready, then I'm just gonna stress myself out. I'm gonna feel bad about it. And so if that means I have to push something back a day, obviously there's moments where it's like I do really have to just like push something out. That it is what it is. In that sense, it's a priority, and everything else must fall behind. Try not to let that happen too much, but otherwise, it's really just like if I can proactively give myself like an hour and a half on a project and work until I'm feeling good about it. I've done that thing for the day, you know. And yeah, it's just a lot more like consistent. And I think even though the structure and the projects themselves might change on a day-to-day basis, like it's just like as long as my work time is constituted by like feeling good about like where I'm able to push some projects along to, that's a good day.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, man. And it's just so important because it's like you just don't know. Some sessions just like happen and fall out. Some you feel like you bang your head against the wall for the entire time that you do it. And if you judge those sessions like based on that, you're kind of at it's like the weather. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but you can control like, hey, it's binary. Did I show up today or not?
Right.
And you have complete control over that. You know what I mean? And there are exceptions, you know what I mean? Like things happen, life happens. However, like generally speaking, right, like it's up to you whether you do this or not. And so, and you can choose to also like, because it's also easy not to do it, you can choose to feel good about doing it. It's, oh, I proved to myself I can show up like day in and day out.
It's huge. It's a confidence booster because you're like, you set the parameters and then you just achieve them. And it's small enough that you can stack that day over day and you're like, I'm good.
Yes.
I'm kind of like, nice, I can listen to myself, you know.
And you can design that with the conscientiousness. So like when you talk about the night before, kind of like reflecting on the day, it's like you understand, like you've observed yourself enough. And I think that's like an important part of this that doesn't get talked about enough, which is
yeah, you're right.
Just like the observation of yourself, like kind of honestly, like to the extent like even like going back to recording, right? Like if you just kind of write down what happens, generally speaking, like from for certain hours of the day, you can start to understand, okay, like how you can like intervene in a way that makes your day go more often the way that you want it to go, or spend your time the way that you want it to go. So knowing that you are the way you are in the morning, you set yourself up to be super mechanical. So you're just like, I just like start walking over there and I know like all that stuff is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so in the same way that you create a template in Ableton or something, right? It's like I gave like, here's like what I'm going to wear tomorrow. The coffee's like, all I have to do is, you know, some people have like their automatic coffee machine. They push like whatever it is, right? Yeah. Like I do the same thing with my book. Like it's on the table where I sit to write in the morning. It's already there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. It's like, so I can relate. And I think it is a really powerful thing to just take the thinking out of it. Like Seinfeld, who I think is like one of the greatest people to like kind of study or steal from when it comes to this kind of thing, is like, he talks about it just like, you gotta like take care of your monkey brain because it's just always gonna like throw you off. You know what I mean? So you just make things as mechanical and physical as you can. Is like, well, that's not exactly what he says, but that's kind of how I interpret it. And like, that's what I do is like, it's just like, just take the thinking out of it and make it like, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to do this thing. And then that kind of like just puts you in motion. And, you know, sort of like, I don't feel like working out, but it's like, you just go to the gym. And then once you get there, you're like, okay, well, now I'm going to work out. You know what I mean?
Right. And so that's an example of something that like I struggle with a lot is working out really consistently. So the idea of being like, all right, I don't want to work out, and then I go to a timer and I set 30 minutes. And it's like, when that's done, have worked out. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, I don't think everyone works that way, but like, 30 minutes is going to happen whether I want it to or not. So if that's all I have to do, you know, and maybe like eventually do it for longer, but like, you have to start there. You have to start with something that you can bite off, you know. You can't bite off more than you can chew. But yeah, man, I think that's entirely what developing a really consistent and like sustainable practice when it comes to creativity, making music, or really anything you want to do in life that's like not required of you, is if you just kind of make it like foolproof, or at least like sliding into it. Make that foolproof. Ideally, you give yourself enough time to like enter a flow state doing it, or whatever it is that you need to do that you can like just really enjoy.
Right.
So that you keep coming back. For some things it's not necessarily available to you, and I recognize that like it takes a long time to sort of fall into a flow state, and that for me is like that's the prize. It's like, you know, if I'm making music and I'm flowing, that's like, oh, it's an amazing experience. It's like,
yeah, riding that wave.
yeah, you just forget that you're alive, you know, in a good way. You like forget that you're a body. You're just like living in this thing where they say your attention and your awareness are merged. And that's so, I don't know, it's a cool experience. And then also on the other side of that, you got to come out of those sessions being like, maybe what I made was dog shit, you know, but like I did it. That's the only important thing. And I think reflecting on yourself in the many ways that we've discussed, doing that, reflecting on your actions, reflecting on your output, your results and everything, over time, you start to develop the permission, I guess, in a sense, or just, what am I trying to say? You just kind of like realize that, yeah, you have no control over the results. If you just try, that's good. If you recognize that, you know, consistently you're not feeling good about a certain area of, in our case, like production. Maybe you're like, you were saying like, oh, like I want to work on my drums. Like I want to feel better about my drums. Like, okay, cool.
Really put me on blast, man. Thanks.
I do too.
I'm just playing.
I do too. I do everything. Sorry. Okay, well, for example, like I want my bass tone to be better. I like call myself a bassist, and I don't think I'm very happy with how my bass sounds as it's recorded. And I think part of that is my hands. I just don't like have taught myself, so I don't have great technique. And then part of that is, you know, just like my signal chain or maybe the bass, the way it's set up. Like there's all these things, all these factors, right? And so, okay, cool. Then like if that's something I consistently realize that I am struggling with, then one of the times that I have like abundant energy on hand, I'll set a timer and just be like, I'm going to dive into this specific thing.
So one thing I did want to ask you is when you were talking about, because I love this, I've been talking about like, I don't know, like obviously I'm interested in like the writing piece of just like for the few, like there's just, I mean, in my mind, just like indisputable, like, you know, how did you develop the prompts that you're answering at each evening?
Oh, so there was actually like a template that I got for this like automation. It like runs in the shortcuts app on my iPhone. Okay. So I just kind of like modified them to like be things that made sense to me. I didn't think too hard about it, to be honest. Like
it sounds like they're really open-ended.
Super open-ended, yeah. And basically like I would just do it, and then if a question, like if my response to a question, my reaction was just like, that doesn't pertain to my life at all, I would just be like, all right, what do I actually want to be asked right now? Or like, what am I like trying to get off my chest or anything like that? So I went through like maybe a couple different iterations of like questions, but to me it was a very like intuitive process. I didn't really think that much about it. It was kind of like, how do we do? You know, like is helpful enough for me.
How do you find like, are you answering that like 1 to 10, or are you like?
No, I don't know. I like write. I like. Yeah, I mean, like maybe the first question is like a, you know, from like a frown to a happy. Like, how did you feel today? So like that's kind of helpful, I guess, if it's just like, you know, if I'm having like a really depressive moment, or if I'm like feeling great, and it's like, all right, cool, yeah, I want to talk about that. Like, I guess I did feel really damn good today. Like, nice. But besides that, no, it's just open-ended sort of, you know. I think the most important question for me is just like, how do we do? Because that helps me sort of align with my intentions and like give myself feedback on, you know, to the best of my ability, like how did I do? Like did I do what I said I was gonna do? Did that affect the people around me? And you know, go from there. So yeah, that's really a big one. And then there's like a, you know, what do you want to do tomorrow? Or like what can we do tomorrow? Maybe I could probably stand to add something about like, you know, how are you doing on the long-term stuff? I think it's a very sort of like day-by-day thing, but I think if anything, I could probably hit that long-term.
How often are these something you revisit, or you just kind of write them and move on so that the next morning is set up? Just
write them to write them. I don't really worry about revisiting them. You know, part of it is just kind of like getting it out, and then part of it is the exercise of actually thinking about what my day was like, just replaying the events of my day. I find that if I don't do that, I just like forget like large swaths of my life, you know, also, which is unfortunate. But without actually like actively reflecting on stuff that goes down, I'm just kind of floating. So yeah, just, I don't know, it feels good to just like check in like that. It usually takes me like 10 or 15 minutes. Like I can be as abrupt as I want to be. Sometimes just like to get it done because I'm like super tired and just want to do it again, like just keep the ball rolling. I'll just like rifle through and be like, yeah, this is fine, great, whatever.
And are you doing that pretty much every day? How often would you say you're knocking that out?
I try to do it several times a week.
Okay.
Usually I just go on like spurts. So I'll do it for like 2 weeks straight, and then like I'll skip, and then I just gotta get back into it. Like, it's just kind of unfortunately how my structure works, but which is lack of structure. But it helps. It's sort of like it's a feedback cycle. So when I start getting into it, it just like self-generates, self-perpetuates rather.
Do you think that you notice any difference, like when you're hitting that consistently versus not?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How does it, like, what comes up, or what do you notice? What's visible about that?
My mental health is better. Straight up. It's maintenance. It's like going to the gym. It's for me, it's like what I have to do. If I'm doing it, it means I'm in a good place. And if I'm in a good place, it means I'm doing it. I don't know. They're kind of one and the same. Because I'm looking at my life objectively, and I'm being honest with myself. I'm giving myself space to do that. And that's, I've also like been in therapy like talk therapy on and off for years, and like, so it's all stuff that I learned from that too, about my specific like constitution mentally and whatnot, and emotionally. So it all sort of plays into that. But yeah, it's super helpful, man. Like I just can't tell you how many times like I'll sit down to do that and be like, I'll just find myself being like, man, that was fucking cool today. Or like, just feeling extra hits of gratitude, or remembering like, oh, you know what, I like need to reach out to this person. Like, I felt I was like doing something today that reminded me of them, and I didn't reach out to them then, but like, okay, cool. Like, and I just like kind of check in with that person, and it's the extra things in life that like are easy to fall away. I think it just helps me check in with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's the reverse of like Fat Bastard and Austin Powers being like, I eat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel good because I'm writing, and I'm writing because I feel good.
Yeah.
It's like, where does it start or end? I don't know.
Well, okay, I have something to say about that, because it does start with doing. It's not going to happen just because I feel good. I'm going to feel like you have to act in order to feel good, where they say like mood follows action. I've never in my life been able to think my way out of not feeling great. I have to just start doing shit. And usually that's just like the small thing is like, I'll just like clean. That just helps me feel good if I'm like not sure what I'm doing, or like, not feeling good, or maybe like I just spent too long working on something, or I like caught myself scrolling for a half hour, and I'm like, okay. The next step is just like, just move around, man, like clean. Just like get yourself, like wipe the counter. Like you're just gonna feel good doing that. And then you kind of get yourself back into a place of calm, and it's like, all right, that's nice.
Yeah, there is sort of like this sense of like appreciating, like having it, because it's like inspires gratitude on some level, but also like having this detachment from like what happened, in a sense of like, maybe you're like, I didn't feel good today, so I don't feel like writing this down because I don't want to like think about that. But being okay with like whatever happened that day, and being able to like step through that and write it down is in and of itself like a win. Yeah,
I think so. I actually don't think about it that way that much, but totally right. I think maybe in the past it would have been a barrier. Like I would be almost embarrassed to like negotiate with myself around that, or like actually relive it in some way. But I think that's sort of the point. It's like, if you're forcing yourself to relive your day, and you're reliving things that are uncomfortable, if it's in your control to not do those things so that you don't have to relive them, that's also good. Or if you just feel like you just didn't approach a project the right way, or you didn't approach an interaction with somebody the right way, or like you just kind of let your stress seep into some area of your life that like, you don't want it to. It happens, but like you just don't want it to. Then you start to think about like, okay, like how could I have like just mechanically and meaningfully done something differently before that? How could I have identified this before? Like when did I actually notice that I was stressed? Because it was probably before, whatever like the thing was that I am like actually disappointed about, and maybe I could have prevented. So it's, it becomes this process of like just learning yourself. That's really what it is.
Yeah, I think like, again, it's like sort of just like a healthy level of detachment, right? So that you can kind of get objective perspective about what it is that you're going through, so that you can change things to the extent that you want to. You've mentioned control a couple times. I'm kind of curious about where you draw the line between like what's within and outside of your control.
Yeah, I guess action is in your control. mood, emotion, results, not in your control. Often there's a correlation, but the only thing you can really control is like what you do and to some degree when. I think that's not I haven't considered this before now necessarily in this way. So yeah, and you know, doing so with and understanding what your intention is also really important. So you can to some degree like control is the wrong word. You just have to like adapt to and like understand and like negotiate with whatever it is that you're feeling, because your emotions will come and go and you don't really have control over that. Your mood will be what it is. You can do things to change your mood, but it is the action that you must take to do that. So yeah, that's at least kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, I think we just get caught up too much in, you know, we've talked about this a little bit throughout this conversation, just in the outcomes and the results, right? And letting that drive how we feel about what we do.
Yeah.
And when you decide consciously to let things that are outside of your control determine how you feel about what you do, tough to stay in that game. So I do think it's like just important to recognize, okay, if you want to do that, that's your decision, and it's not like something that it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's tough though, because it is a skill, and like, well, it's more than just a skill. It's the way you talk to yourself internally. That's what like therapy is helpful for, and like to some degree also this is a form of therapy where we're talking about like the pages and the reflecting and everything. Because the way you talk about yourself is the way you like make a narrative around your life, and it's the way that you understand how things go, especially when they only affect you when they're internal. But also involving other people. If you're not checking in with like, hey, what was your experience of that thing that happened to us together, which is like, could be annoying. Like, don't always do that. Then yeah, you really gotta just figure out like, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, you gotta become accountable for your self-talk. I think that's like a really, really important thing just in life. You know, outside of making music, you gotta do your best to stay on top of that.
Yeah, it's a never-ending kind of challenge, but it is really empowering to recognize, like, to just be more aware of it and realize that it can actually become a little bit more of like an evolving and conversation, you know, and something that doesn't have to be as like kind of permanent, like you were talking about before.
Right. Yeah, because you're negotiating with yourself. Yeah, and I also need to be clear that I'm like not like I've had to learn all these things because I've struggled with it like, throughout my life. Like I've had very depressive tendencies throughout my life. Like I've dealt with anxiety. I have just a high baseline of stress, like a lot. I'm a neurotic person. Like so for me, like intellectualizing it and practicing it is like how I need to move through the world and feel like better about myself. Might not always be true for everybody, and it's certainly in different amounts, but like, you know, that's like the kind of person I am. I kind of need, or I benefit from this stuff, so I've developed like a need and a structure like around it and guaranteeing it. So
how are you thinking about success now at this point? What is success to you? Has it changed
a house with a yard,
golden retriever,
and a Land Rover. No, I'm allergic to dogs, man. I can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Cats, though. I don't cat. No, success is, I don't know, man. It's a feeling that I want to just feel as many days as possible that I had a good day. That's a successful day. And a successful life is just built on a succession of successful days. And I think you can only really, like, it changes all the time. It's funny, right? Because like success is it's a moving target. When I was young and when I was becoming passionate about making music, success to me meant full-time musician. I have been doing that for 10 years, just about, with some stints here and there doing part-time work. I served tables last year for some extra cash. Like I'm always kind of finding extra ways to make money and supplement what I do. For the most part, it's been my full-time for 8 years. And I achieved it. I at 24 stopped working a restaurant job. was full-time with music.
It's amazing, man. Congrats.
Thank you. It was awesome. It was it was like, it was the timing and the effort that I was putting in. It all like felt like it was coalescing. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I'm so grateful for it. But then like my life started, and then I was like, wait a second, it has to keep going for me. And I think a lot of my life has been figuring out where else it goes from there.
Yeah.
And trying a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, like I'm involved in, like, I play bass, I mix, I master, I do all these things, and I feel like I'm still a baby at all these things. I'm learning, and I try my best, and I try to get information and learn from mentors and the best sources that I can find. But like, I'm really just trying to like get reps and like earn the trust of the people around me.
Right.
And so I think I've been doing a lot of this and experiencing a lot of different types of work because of that, meeting a lot of people, and it's been awesome. But I think at the end of the day, success now, after I've tasted all these different things within the world of music, I think success actually just looks like kind of doing what I was doing before. We were talking about this earlier, but like doing what I was doing before, which was really just focusing on making beats, and like between that and then marketing the beats in the various ways that take shape. I think building a life around that would afford me the consistency and the control that I actually like kind of crave. And I find that when I spend my days doing that and focusing on that well, and then also like doing the shit that I need to do, working out, like seeing my friends, seeing my girlfriend, like just all the like normal day-to-day stuff that feels great, I'm like, I'm succeeding. That's just without question, I'm doing what I need to do. And if I can support myself doing that, that's the best. Like, you can't fuck with that. Like, it's just the best. That's all I mean. You can't deny that. You can't deny that. Like, that is just unquestionably like living a good life. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that your enthusiasm. You can see that you really feel that, and it just seems like you have a lot of clarity around like kind of like at least directionally, right? Like, and so I'm wondering like how have you. And maybe it's like something that feels more like kind of natural or subtle. You can't even really point to it, but I'm curious about how you've kind of developed or like kind of understood like, oh, this is the direction for me. Because it sounds like you have, maybe they're not super concrete in terms of like some kind of like numerical goal in some way, or quantifiable goal, but it sounds like you have goals. And I'm wondering how you've kind of have arrived at those, because I tend to believe that like clarity of those things is a big part of satisfaction, because it like gives you clear direction. Yeah.
It gives you structure in a big way, or at least that's how I interpret it. I could give myself actually to pull an example from my past. I had finished college. I went to NYU, so very expensive private school, and I graduated with a lot of debt. And I was lucky enough to be able to go back home, live with my parents, and just like work at a restaurant that was decently lucrative for several months out of the year. It was like a little seasonal place, and then spend the rest of my time really just worried about making music. So that was like, I'm trying to dig myself out of a financial hole, so ideally I can get back to New York City and be around my friends and like take a stab at a career in music here. So I'm in this place and I'm like, I don't see myself here for very long. I am under this like mountain of debt, and that is my goal. So is to erase that. So I remember I gave myself like a year and a half, and I was like, by the end of this year, $2,000 a month passively coming in through, at the time it was Bandcamp. I was like, how can I shape everything I'm doing to hit that mark? If I can do that on top of my salary, and my wages and tips as a server, I should be able to knock this out in 2 years. Just nose to the grindstone. Don't really have to worry about anything else. So I'm in a very privileged position to be in, but so it was able to be a short horizon. But like, as soon as I had that, I was like untouchable. It was, I think I really thrive in that kind of a, like goal oriented, but like every day I knew what I needed to do. And, I think I was 4 months ahead of schedule getting all that debt gone. So, not to brag or anything, but I think that structure was just awesome for me. And so that's what I keep going back to. Like, I love, like I said, I love novelty, and I love the idea of like, being in a million places, doing a million things, being able to be in a situation in a musical context where someone needs something and being able to be like, I have experience with this, I can help you out. No matter what that is, I take a lot of pride in that.
Right.
And there is a flip side to that where I offer more of myself than I can afford to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm sort of there where I'm like, I've been doing a lot of like freelance work for other people, and it's really dope, but I'm not spending my time making beats, and I want to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been missing that, and I've been allowing myself to like miss it and crave it and think about it and ideate on it, and because I want to really want it, I want to remember what that's like and check in with it, and then when the time is right to like sort of cut those things to finish these projects that I'm working on with my friends and stuff, and to start saying no. Huge skill. I'm sure you have your experience with that. I'm sure we can talk about that a little bit. But like when I'm able to start saying no to things that I just don't want to do in a way that I don't feel like I've been able to recently, then I'm in a good spot.
So yeah, I mean, I think what's really cool that's embedded in what you just said is kind of this. We're acknowledging the value of like clarity and goals, but also. It doesn't mean like, hey, if you don't have that in this moment that you should like kind of feel despair. It's like there's so many things. Like I think most of us find out what it is that we're interested in through trying these other things. So as you allude to like kind of the other work that you do that maybe you're finding out with time that you're less passionate about right now. There was a time where you felt differently, and also you wouldn't know, like it's all hypothetical until you do it. So now that you kind of have some of this stuff like that you're currently working on and can kind of picture it in the rear view, you're like, that's sort of where the clarity comes from about where to go next.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, part of why I've been so interested in doing so many different things is because I want to be able to have that perspective in the rear view and be like, yeah, I've tried it. I have an idea of how I do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is what it is. Like whether or not I want to do that continuously into the future is up to me at the moment, but I have some data, some personal experience on like how that type of work tends to go for myself. And I also have to recognize the limitations of that perspective, right? Because I'm trying it in a certain period of my life. I have certain influences and people around me. I have a certain studio setup that's informing how I work. There's all these things that are specific to now that might not be true later. So I also feel like just openness to the experience and like learning and doing these kinds of things, and just like trying the best you can, time that you're doing it. Is like all you can really do, and I think it's been a great exercise in my life to embrace that and just say yes to a bunch of shit. And now I'm like, all right, I need to start saying no to a bunch of shit. But it's I'm so grateful for this experience. I've met so many people and gotten to work on so many cool projects that it's like, oh, this is awesome. But I think at the end of the day, I try to see like what I'm doing every day and extrapolate like would I be stoked to be doing this 8 hours a day in 20 years, and with a lot of the stuff it's just not quite there for me. I think it'll always be supplementing my life, but I think the things that I've felt really good about doing for 8-ish hours a day comes down to like making a bunch of beats, stacking that into a catalog, and then spending half my day creating and then the other half of the day like contacting people or marketing it and doing what I can to make sure that like it reaches the right people.
Yeah, I mean, all of this like that willingness to experiment is like just a really powerful thing when you're unsure about where to go next. How do you, I guess like, because you did mention the saying no thing, and I'm wondering, in what ways, maybe we could start really, really like basic, like what's a nice way to say no to somebody? Because I think people like, for instance, like there's a really common trope, I guess, like in this like time and space where it's like you get a DM, and the essence of it is, hey, like I'm trying to do something with you, right? And first of all, I think like don't forget that's like a really high compliment. If somebody like is someone like, especially like a lot of people feel underappreciated, like don't forget that like whether you're interested in working with that person or not, or whether it works for you in whatever way, like that's a compliment. Somebody
Definitely.
Somebody's aware of what you're doing.
Yeah, and like wants to join in that in some way.
100%.
It's cool.
Yeah.
How do I say no to people? I think there's two ways to do it, and you kind of have to read the person that you're talking to, but like either just like hey, took a listen, not feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
like, but don't give up, hit me up, you know, in the future if you feel like, you know,
Right.
there's still something there, but like right now, not for me.
Yeah.
I've never had anyone not respect it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a kind of a win. And then the other times there is just the practical, like, I'm a little too busy and or stressed right now to like think about taking on new work. I might, if I'm interested in it, I would say like by X time, like maybe 6 weeks from now, when I like have all this other stuff out the door, I will become available and I'd be happy to slot this in. But truth be told, I will not be able to touch it until then. And if it's just straight up, I don't want to do it, I just say like, hey, I'm not interested. Like, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. I'm not interested. And ideally I'd be able to like talk to somebody else in my network and be like, hey, would you want to take this on? So I can at least recommend someone. And if I don't have that and I'm like, I wouldn't, you know, sometimes I get requests for work and I'm like, I don't know who, you know, should do this, then I don't do that. I'm not going to like foist it upon the friend of mine or anything. I'm just kind of like, yeah, can't help you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I don't really think any of us really like saying no, knowing that if it's like gonna potentially disappoint somebody on their side. Like, nobody really wants to do that, but you also have to be protective of the limited time and capacity and whatever your own goals are.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not gonna just say yes to someone because I don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah, I was talking about this with somebody. Yeah, like
not like professionally. I mean, I do it like in conversations.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Like you have to like read the room, and I can be a people pleaser for sure, but like learning how to do that in business, I think is like you can kind of be colder than you realize than you think you might have to be. I don't know.
Right, it may feel more dramatic than it actually is, and just like I think I was talking about this with a friend. It's sort of like this idea that a lot of us like will avoid like maybe one uncomfortable message or like a 5-minute uncomfortable conversation that involves like a decline of something, of some kind of invitation. And then because we're unable or unwilling to like kind of have that uncomfortable moment, we actually end up in this like uncomfortable process where we're now working on this thing for like an indefinite amount of time that you could like, that goes on for, I don't know, weeks, months, whatever, when you could have just kind of said, you know what, like this isn't for me. Yeah. And it's really like kind of a funny kind of irony or something like that in that way where you like kind of, because you didn't want to do this, now you're kind of like sentenced to this now, you know?
It'll learn you real fast, you know, the value of being able to say no, for sure. And you know, the degree to which you can trust your instincts, because then you're doing what you thought you might not want to do, and you can, sometimes that bears fruit. Sometimes it's like, whoa, actually this was kind of cool. And sometimes it's a learning experience in other ways, you know? Sometimes you're just like, you know, I didn't really want to do this, and it's not like the most fun, but I actually like, you know, you just kind of have to see the positives. You have to force yourself to see the positives, because like you still have to be a person of your word, and if you say yes to something, then like you gotta deliver it. That's business, especially, but it's all interpersonally. You just have to do that. And I, you know, I could take my own advice a little better, but I think it's really just important to get past the fear of saying no, because it's relieving, and it's also kind to the person that you're saying no to. It's honest.
Yeah, do you think that is like overlooked? Like that it is actually a considerate move, even though like it feels rude. It's actually a considerate thing, and most people can handle it. And if they end up demonstrating to you that they can't, then you kind of did yourself and them a favor too, really.
Right. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't know. It shouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if there are feelings about it, we'll learn from them.
Yeah.
If you reach out to somebody, for example, and you're like, hey, I'd really love to work with you, and you're like, hey, man, this is a stretch, you know, I don't know. And they're just like, I'm not feeling it. That's reasonable. Yeah. Maybe I'm sad for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad the saying no thing came up, honestly. I think it is like a really practical thing that a lot of us in various phases or whatever, like it is like a very basic part. And I think it is about just being direct, and like it shows trust, honestly, in the person that they can handle a no in the same way. And I think generally speaking, man, like I found in so many things, it's just sort of like, it's not worth forcing it. To the example that you just mentioned, if somebody's like not into it, like, do you really want to force it just because you think in your mind it would be cool to like make that project a thing? It's like, if somebody else doesn't want to be in it and it's a 2-person thing, it doesn't really work out very well, you know? And I kind of think there's just so many people in the world that are your people that like find and focus on who those people are is a much more enjoyable way to spend your time than to like focus on like the people who are just not in the same place or not interested in collaborating or whatever it happens to be.
Absolutely. And then on the flip side of that, though, I do also want to point out that if you are trying to become practiced and like get experience with something, you're probably going to have to eat a little bit of shit and pay some dues on the way to getting where you want to go. At the same time, that you should absolutely prioritize, finding your people and working with them. That won't always pay the bills in the beginning. You probably just won't have the volume of business that you need. So there is also nothing wrong with taking work, knowing what your expectations are. You have to set your expectations correctly. If you're working with someone that you don't really connect with musically, if it's not going to happen well for you, then don't do it. But like, for example, if you're just like engineering someone and just getting their vocals down, like that is a service. That can be a transaction. Like, ideally, it's not. But if they're new to the game and you're still feeling your way through that process of being like an engineer, producer, or whatever, like, by all means, like, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're just upfront about like, this is my skill set, this is where I'm at. Like, I can offer you only so much like genuine critique of your music. Maybe it's best if I'm hands off on the actual like dictating my taste, and I'm just like your guy for you tell me what you need and I will do it to the best of my ability. That is a worthwhile process. That's also how you learn professionalism. That's how you learn to take your ego out of it. And I think those things are important too, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. So I do want to throw that out there too. Like,
no, that's an interesting point for balance, and I think it does also highlight sort of, if you want to do something with somebody, like, express to them at the very least that you're thoughtful about it, and like, this is specifically what you want, this is like how you think it could work, especially instead of just being like, hey, like, let's collaborate. It's like, you may know exactly what you mean because you're asking the question. The other person may have no idea, you know what I mean? And who knows how many other messages or requests that they have or what's going on in their life. So by just being super specific, like it shows a little bit of just like kind of empathy for the other person's life and what's going on, and that you're like clear about what you want, you know what I mean? And I think that's really valuable.
I think that's the spirit of collaboration, ultimately, is what you're getting at here. It's like, if you're going to reach out to someone and say like, hey, I think I would like a project with me that might not bear financial fruit, until long in the future, if at all, would be worth your time and like emotional energy. The least you can do is show up with like having done your homework, I think that's really, really important. But I think that's also more about like collaborative things. I guess what I'm talking about too is like, again, like the service type thing, like engineering somebody, like, renting the studio for the day, and like, I'll be like, we'll hang and have a blast and like, get some recordings done and everything like that. But like, sometimes that person hasn't done their homework and you haven't necessarily done your homework, but like, you kind of want the experience and the cash, and like, let's see what happens. Maybe it's not your best work. Maybe you offer them a discount because you're like, you know what, at the end of the day, I realize like this isn't my bag, and so I'm not gonna deliver the product that I feel like I'm capable of, just on some like, I haven't really done this type of music in this way before. So like, you set their expectations to the degree that you can control that. You set their expectations like with that being upfront, setting a price that you feel is fair for what you can offer. And I think as long as you like meet in a place that's mutually agreeable, like everyone's gonna be happy. Everyone's gonna leave like having gotten something and learned something, and and if someone is really intent on getting a specific sound and they hit you up and you're not really capable of providing that or whatever, then like, that's also on them to know that like, it's on you to communicate that and on them to prioritize that. And it's, and sometimes you just find yourself in situations where you're like, this isn't really working out. And then you deal with that then, and you talk to the person and, you communicate.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is making me think about, maybe your first collaboration isn't your dream collaboration, but understanding kind of like, tying all this back to the beginning when we're talking about, the band that you're playing in right now, and just like what you can learn through collaborating, and the way that it does give you kind of outside information about where you're at and who you are in terms of your music. And so to really like kind of think about it in terms of that, like having that like sort of that growth mindset and like that openness to be like, what can I learn through putting myself in this position to collaborate with somebody? Because you get to, if you're a solo producer in your room, you get to hide from a lot of things, and you don't necessarily see how you bump up against it. and you do have complete control over that narrative in a way that's advantageous and also potentially detrimental, because it doesn't allow like the perspective to find, like, you know, you don't know how you work with other people and what you can offer to other people, what you can bring to other people, and what other people can bring to what you do too. Because like I think I've talked about this recently with some other producers, like just collaboration. Like we forget, you know, like let's use the D'Angelo example right now, right? Like incredible. I mean, you know, like we both, I mean, obviously so many people listening to this, I'm sure, huge D'Angelo fans, and people, I was, a huge fan, right? And also think about the other people involved in those records. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's not to take away from him. It's like, I would say, even to his credit, to recognize, hey, like if I'm gonna make something that's gonna be what I imagine in my mind, I need help.
Yeah, and I gotta surround myself with the right people. Yeah.
And so that piece is like, you know, like I need the vanguard, like if I'm gonna do this,
right.
You know? And I think keeping that in mind, because I do think like in so many ways we lift these like individual people up because they're the face of the band, or like they're the producer or whoever they are. And like, it's not to take credit. I think it's like, you really have to be aware of like, we can just do more together than otherwise.
I think so too.
Yeah.
That's something that's been a big learning process for me as I've transitioned out of being just a bedroom beat maker doing stuff by myself into being like a guy in New York who's like gigging and you know, doing mixes and masters for people, clients that are based here. It's humbling. And you know, you realize your role in the process, you know, whatever it is, like however it is that you're helping someone out and providing your skills and your taste and your technique and everything, you're part of a larger whole. And that's something you don't get when you're by yourself, for better or worse. Like maybe you just don't want that, and that's fine too. But like, and you know, I say this like I realize like, oh man, I actually really just like doing stuff by myself. I think I really enjoy that life, knowing fully well that like that will create sort of like a musical outcast kind of situation. Like if I'm not regularly in collaboration with other people, like that was the effect of spending years just being a bedroom beat maker. So yeah, it's just a balance. Like it's a balance, and it's tough to work with people at first, especially when you don't realize what it is that you contribute or don't contribute or whatever. Like it's an entirely different skill set to learn. Worth learning, I think, but also not available to everyone because you have to be geographically. You don't have to be. You can collaborate online. Also a different skill set. They're like completely different types of skills, I think. It's very worth being in the same room as somebody else, musically speaking, and trying to make records. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, I mean this conversation really is kind of case in point in a way, you know, for that. It's like, it is amazing that we live in this place where I get to have these conversations and we can collaborate in music through, you know, like asynchronously, essentially. But there is something that does happen that's different, you know, when you're in the same room. There's different sets of possibilities and stuff that can happen and things that can be exchanged when you're in the same space in the same time. And it's hard to argue with that, you know. So it's not necessarily that it's better or worse, but it is different.
It's different. It does like hit deeper though, I will say, like doing things in person. I mean, we're animals, we're human beings, like we're designed to be social and interact with each other in person. So, you know, it's hard, it's just more complicated, it's more intense, it's more complex, and like there's just more on the line when that's the case. So I think it's really worth trying to get out of your comfort zone if you are listening to this and you're like not someone who tends to collaborate a lot, or if you tend to collaborate online but maybe there is someone nearby that you want to hit up, or like maybe you fly across the country, or you know, take a train or whatever it is, that it can just be like really worth it. And like so many of the best experiences I've had around music were like, man, like I toured for a couple of years before the COVID pandemic, and just getting to meet all these people that I'd known online for so long was like incredible. So cool. Like there's so many amazing people out there, and it's one thing to know them online. It's just an entirely different thing to just meet them and hang out with them and like play a show together and collaborate on something like that in person. And then meeting like fans, like lucky enough to have fans, and like chatting with people that have, sent me DMs, and then it's like, holy shit, you came out, you drove, like, there was a couple that, like, drove 4 hours from, like, West Virginia to Pittsburgh to, like, see me open for another band. I'm like, that's the sickest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh my, like, and that just doesn't happen if you don't get out there, It can't. So, yeah, all that to say, get the hell out there. Get out of your comfort zone. It's important.
Yeah, man. So I guess, like, there's two things that I want to ask you, and then I'll try my best to drop into these short form questions from memory the best that I can.
Okay, and I'll try my best to make them short form answers.
But yeah, no, you take your time. It's the intention, but we're in a very fortunate position right now where we can just hang. So, but there are two things I want to ask you. One is, like, kind of given, like, kind of where you are now and everything in the review and, like, where you want to go, like, where do you see yourself heading, and what are the things that you, like, kind of want to work on and develop?
Okay.
And then two is, like, how do you think about structuring kind of practice and, like, and actually doing the work to develop those things?
Those are short form questions?
No, this is the end of the long form section is the idea.
Okay.
But I asked because I feel like it's a nice way to kind of bring together some of what we've been talking about. So
yeah,
because we kind of started talking about this space where you're really in this, like, you're really in this environment to really learn a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also kind of talked a lot about, okay, like, you're starting to develop more clarity about where you kind of see yourself going in this next year, and, like, how you want to develop your catalog and the kind of producer that you want to be out in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would like to be someone who has music in their life every day. I think that's the most important thing for me. I think it can take many forms, but I think as long as I'm happy about the form that it takes, that's the goal. I've definitely had my share of struggles with music and been in places where I've had a really bad relationship with it. So I don't want that. I don't want to go back there. And I think the form that's going to take, like, ultimately as, like, I get older is going to be focusing a little bit more on, like, what I can do on my own time for myself, which is making solo beats. I think I can feel the pull back towards that. And, like, I'm at the beginning of sort of, like, planning that out, mapping that out in my life, and then also taking the financial hit of, like, not doing other work so that I can afford the time to do this. So it's like, these are all moving pieces. Like, I could probably stand to be a little bit more explicit about what my goals are for that. And I'll get there. But again, it's just about, like, touching down every day, doing a little bit every day, and then, like, it'll grow organically. I've been starting to do that, and it's been really nice. So, that's sort of the momentum is building, and I'm like, all right, that feels like the right goal. And I want to be getting a lot nicer with bass. Bass is so much fun. It's an easy instrument to sort of, like, get into, and I've been lucky because I feel like in New York it's just easier to get, like, bass gigs, perhaps, or maybe I just know the right people. But, like, and shout out to Ethan and Owen and Ricky and everyone who's been a great teammate in helping me get these kinds of gigs, and Drazen and Fondy. But basically, I don't know, man. Like, I just want to be more consistent in my life. I think, like, I've said this multiple times, but, like, I feel better when I am. I want to be able to structure my income such that I'm able to do that, and I don't have to sort of, like, reach for work that I'm not as interested in, or that's a little bit external to my goals musically. Still really grateful to do it and having a lot of fun doing it and learning a lot, but I feel a lot more friction doing it than when I am making beats. So yeah, I think if I could just, like, be doing music with, like, relatively little friction in my life and build like an income revenue stream that allows me to do that, that's what I'd like to be doing.
I know.
Yeah,
we're here for you, man.
Thanks, Doug.
Nothing but continued success.
Likewise.
Are there any projects? I know, like, is the People Under the Stairs thing going to come out? Are there any projects? I know you just had that song on the Chill Out compilation drops. Any stuff to point to or to send people listening?
Yeah, I've been releasing a lot of stuff with Chill Hop recently, like, just, like, one-offs compilation stuff, but it's been fun. They've been really open to more, like, experimental things, or I guess just, like, a slightly different sound than the sort of, like, the normal Chill Hop thing, which has been fun because I've, always felt like a little bit outside of that world, so it's been nice to sort of, like, experiment a little bit more. And they've just been the homies. They're always, like, so great, so easy to work with, really reasonable, and just, like, and they, like, pay you on time. They're organized. They're, like, a good company to their core. And yeah, besides that, I have a lot of stuff that is like in progress, but I feel like talking about it isn't.
Not the right time.
So yeah, I do. Okay, there's one thing I can tell you is that I have a set of 3 instrumental tracks that are recorded with a 6-piece band on my friend's rooftop across Bushwick, and that will be coming out soon. That I'm very excited about. It's one song that I've already released but like done as a live band, and then 2 songs that are unreleased that are only in this form. So like a little live set recording kind of thing.
So is that going to drop on YouTube, or is it going to be on Spotify, or like both? Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I've seen a little bit of that, and I can say, yeah, worth it. Excited for that to drop, man. The rest of it, yeah. So, yeah, 100%. So with that, I'm going to do my best to kind of drop into some of these short form questions we typically ask.
Okay.
Some of we can skip because I think everybody, in the previous conversation, we got pretty deep into like Spotify and like motivation and sampling. So if you're interested in like workflow stuff and motivation and like thinking about kind of fan base building, really, like we talked a lot about that stuff. And so if you're interested and somehow haven't heard that, like definitely go back and check it out.
Yeah, that was a cool cover.
And yeah, no, enjoyed it, man. So which DAW do you use?
Ableton Live.
3 albums that are hitting for you right now.
Right now. Okay, there's damn, I don't listen to albums that much. Shit. So one of them is this reissue. I was telling you about this label called Numero Group. They're based in Chicago. They reissue like obscure and out of print, mostly like funk, soul, R&B, that kind of stuff. A lot of it's like 60s and 70s and 80s. Anyway, they have an album. I think it's called Eccentric Soul. Or a series. It's so cool. It's like a little bit less like professionally recorded than a lot of stuff from that era, and it just feels like really raw and like rough, but the songs are great, the performances are great, and it's just this cool jam. It's like a record label that basically does the digging for you. It's awesome. And they find some really cool stuff. I've also been listening to, man, I have to check my account to even remember what the hell I've been listening to. Alright, D'Angelo just passed away, so I've been going back through his discography, and the Live at the Jazz Cafe in London is a great, oh man, it's such a cool performance, and it's like proto, it's like, I think it was right before Brown Sugar came out, it's like 95 or something, so it's kind of like proto D'Angelo.
Yeah, I have like a bootleg pressing of that. Yeah,
Whoa,
it's
nice.
So yeah,
Dude, that's awesome.
like it's a really great show. Yeah,
It's
I couldn't
amazing.
recommend that enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
it's so good.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's cool to like have a recording of someone so early in their career, but clearly so on top of their shit, just so with it, so inspired, and like killing, dude. They're burning that place.
Yeah, he had something to say, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
incredible. So that's really sick. And then I keep going back to Stashbox by DJ Harrison.
Wow, I used to be obsessed with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good outlet. It's
Dude,
like,
yeah.
you know.
That's the one that has like Mama's Gun and Dilla's Eclair and stuff like that on. Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's just like, I guess for the model of like solo beat maker, like with live instruments, like he's sort of the blueprint.
Yeah.
Just like impeccable.
Well, he's so good. Like he's actually just so proficient on so
ridiculous.
many instruments. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not fair. But yeah,
he's
DJ
wild.
Harrison is the man. Love his music. Loves playing in Butcher Brown. Just like really big fan of his. And check it out.
Yeah, what's the favorite piece of gear right now in your studio here?
Favorite piece of gear is my bass, my B bass. It's over there. I'm just using it so much these days, and so just getting to know it a lot better.
It's a classic, man, for a reason.
Yeah, and I really like this one. It's got a weird neck. It's like kind of baseball batty. It's more like jazz bassy.
Oh, really?
It's like really
Interesting.
like it's like kind of fat, but it's like narrow,
Mhm.
and it just feels really great. So I don't know. I walked into like a used music store or a used instrument store and got really lucky because it didn't come in that day.
Oh well, meant to be.
I guess so. I was just like, I just booked like a crazy gig, and I was like, I'm gonna have a sick bass when I play this
Yeah.
gig. Like, let's go. And
Get on stage with a bass you've never played, basically.
Oh, it was months before.
Oh, okay,
It was like
gotcha.
I got the booking. And
I
I
was
was
gonna
like,
say that's a questionable decision. Yeah.
yeah, no, that would have been
Yeah.
rough. But no, yeah, I love it. It's I've got like, that's my thing. I've been trying to keep it better set up too, which has been really important because it was I kind of let it go
Yeah.
for a little while. But went to this guy named Farhad in Greenpoint here, and he did an impeccable job setting it up, restringing it, changing the action, making it play like a dream.
Yeah.
And so just changed my relationship to it too.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, I just like want to play it.
Dude, grab it. I mean, we're on camera. Grab it real quick so people can see.
Okay.
It's within reach. Yeah. So we're like looking at it. It's like just out of frame, I
it's
think.
like right there. Here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. I like a little,
Yeah. The tobacco sunburst with like the dark pick art.
Exactly.
Is that a black pick art?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it come like that, or did you put that on there?
No,
Yeah,
just
it
like
came-
straight out of the
yeah.
shop. I haven't really done anything to it.
Yeah, I really like the
Yeah.
tobacco. What year is that thing? Because the headstock looks like an old one.
77.
Oh wow, yeah, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, man, it's nice. But yeah, I don't know if like,
Yeah,
check it out.
this thing is super cool.
It's nice. It's heavy. Hurts my shoulder after 2 hours on stage, but
Yeah, I love the font and everything on the old Fender headstock. It's just like cleaner.
yeah, it's cool.
It just looks it's really good.
It's good. Stays in tune. Sounds good.
That's a very like underappreciated.
Yeah, it's a good it's a good working instrument, and it's it's a 4-string, so there's definitely some gigs that I'm like, oh, I wish I had a 5-string.
Yeah, 5, yeah.
But I make do. I have a little like Boss octave pedal, so if I really
is that
need
the
to reach-
workaround? Yeah.
Yeah, if I really need to reach below the low E, like if there's a certain gig where it's like I know all the material ahead of time, I can tune down if I
Mhm.
really need to, but prefer not to do that because like transposing everything gets me all confused and shit.
Yeah, you don't need more to think about there.
So, yeah. So I did that for one gig last year, and I was like,
Yeah, that's brave.
This is hard.
Yeah.
But a good exercise. I mean, definitely something I can do. But yeah, I use the octave pedal, the OC tuning, just to like.
That's good to know. I never thought about doing something like that because sometimes I do just wish because like so much we listen to, it's like you get that low bass and you want to have, but you just there's limits obviously on the thing.
Yeah. It's not something I do. Like I kind of commit to it for a song because it's a specific sound. It's not
Yeah.
like it's hard to just like throw it in like while you're playing.
Yeah.
And, like hit one note and then turn it off or anything.
Yeah.
So just kind of like if I know the song is gonna go low frequently, then I'll just use that for the song and just like develop the bass line on that.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna play around with that
That's
idea.
fun.
What's one habit that gets in the way of your creativity?
Fucking saying yes to too much shit. I don't know, man. Sometimes I just like get caught in scrolling loops or something. I hate that. I don't want to be a slave to my phone, but I think it just kind of it got my brain,
Yeah.
So
It's sort of by design.
yeah, I mean it's definitely succeeding at what it is designed
Yeah.
to do. So yeah, man, fuck that shit. I never need to be doing that,
Mm-hmm.
but I do sometimes. So.
What's one thing you wish more people understood about music and/or production?
My first instinct is there are so many different ways to approach it and relate to it, and there's no right way or wrong way. And as long as you're doing what works for you and makes you happy and keeps you inspired, then hell yeah.
And best advice that you've ever received?
Yeah, I think I would put it somewhere in like what we were talking about before, where it's just like just keep going and showing up and like I don't know. I guess there's like a specific like person who's like giving me advice, but or that like really stands out. But I would say from some of the books that I've read, show up, do what you said you're gonna do, close the laptop, and that's a successful day. As long as you've done that. Keep that up over a long time and you're good.
Yeah, what's a movie that changed the way you think?
I don't watch movies. Genuinely, I've seen like 5 movies in my life. I don't.
What's your favorite
I'm like
of the 5?
illiterate when it comes to movies. Shit. Yeah, I'm gonna back out of these.
Oh, fair enough. I'm trying to think here. There's got to be 1 or 2 more that I'm missing here before I do the. What's something that you would tell your former self as a producer?
Damn. Okay, a lot of stuff, but I would probably say. Yeah, the most important thing to do is to stay inspired. I think everything else can kind of be downstream of that, but like if you're not inspired, it's going to be really tough. So even if you spend the day that you want to be working on stuff, if you spend that, whether that's inside or whatever, like stoke your inspiration. That's crucial.
And so can I ask you to kind of double click on inspiration when you say like stay inspired or maintain inspiration, like what is that?
It's a feeling. It's like being drawn. You know when you're drawn to something, when something's like whatever it is, it just captures your interest and you have to find out more about it or engage with it more. It's a very intuitive thing. And I think that's what's so important about it is like if you're not coming from a place of like intuitively wanting to follow a path, you should try to find that, even if it's just for the day, even if it's just for the moment that you're like, oh, I'm inspired by like this thing and it doesn't lead anywhere, whatever, as long as you are following a path. Because if you don't have that, it becomes really like you end up brute forcing, and that's you can like become resentful of what you're doing if you're not in that spot. So
so
it takes a while. It takes time to stoke that.
Yeah, and so how do you deal with what I feel like has come up as within this conversation, which is like sort of a contradiction or a paradox maybe, which is like your most important thing is to like maintain your inspiration and cultivate that. Also, just like be kind of mechanical and work consistently, you know, without thinking.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a dichotomy there, to be honest.
How do you reckon? Like to me, they feel like doing things without thinking about them being mechanical seems to. Right, I don't necessarily say it's like a contradiction, but it does seem to kind of not acknowledge like your interest, right? It's sort of almost like kind of just do things.
Well, I think you have to be clear about what you're doing mechanically. I like do my laundry mechanically, but I don't like to like engage with music mechanically. I will set up my day and have my coffee ritual and you know everything in the morning. That's much more mechanical. But as soon as the mechanical stops, as soon as I've started the timer, or as soon as I've entered into my window of like now I'm playing. And even then it takes like 15-20 minutes to get out of the mechanical mindset of the morning or whatever and be like, oh, I'm truly like swimming in uncharted waters right now. Like that's, but if you don't give yourself, you don't mechanically take care of the stuff that that you need in order to get you there. And I'll put it this way. One thing that I've realized is that if I don't have a clean kitchen and, you know, my bed isn't made and there's shit on the floor, and you know that's all sort of emblematic of mental mess. If I don't have that taken care of, it's much harder for me to enter into a flow state. Like by taking care of myself and my home in particular, which is where I make music, like if I don't have my shit straight, I can't as easily and unthinkingly enter into a flow state. Like I have to know that I'm setting aside a block of time, and then on the other end of that, I gotta get to work on this shit, you know, or like whatever it is. I gotta, you know, talk to this person, communicate. Like if I have a to-do list and I haven't approached it, that's gonna be in the background. So the other part of that is mechanically, you know, or whatever, just like being present with the stresses that you have and their effect on your ability to be creative, and recognizing that like sometimes it is just more important to take care of that stuff so that you can open the door tomorrow a little bit more effectively, and like, you know, give yourself the freedom to play, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to play, mess around, experiment, you know, feel safe doing it.
No, that's a really cool way to break it down. I mean, in a way it sounds like kind of on one level it's sort of like the way the rest of your life looks is like kind of like the way that things look on the inside, you know, like if your house is in disarray, you know, if things are messy, like things are likely messy inside and it's hard to concentrate. And so kind of that organization and like keeping things kind of clean in a sense is a way to provide that platform to be inspired, because it frees up space.
Big time. Yeah, it's you got to take care of the small stuff before I think the big stuff can really like enter. You know, inspiration, creativity, all this sort of stuff, like flow states. It's very quiet. And you have to get rid of the noise that would otherwise like muffle that whisper of like of inspiration or whatever it is. You know, to get a little bit spiritual, because I don't know, I relate to this stuff pretty spiritually. Like it's you know, it's definitely about like making good with the dark parts of you and the devil and the fuck, and you know, like all this. I mean, I'm not gonna get into it.
Yeah.
But like, there's all these things that are always gonna be trying to take you away from what it is that you want to do, and this is true of everything, not just music, obviously. So like, yeah, you gotta just like make bargains with that others, the monkey brain or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just invite them to dinner, you know, throw them some bread, and like, all right, I'm gonna be in the kitchen again.
Yeah.
Like, have fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best metaphor, but you know what I mean. Like, it's you just gotta take care of your shit.
Yeah.
And I find that when I do, the more I do, the better time I have with producing.
Yeah.
So,
Right on, man.
yeah. So,
The last question I like to ask, is there a character from something, fictional or otherwise, that you identify with or see yourself in?
dude, I'm so bad at this. I literally like don't consume media. Think. I don't know, man.
If there was an actor that was going to play you in a movie, who would it be?
I'm bad at this stuff. I don't feel comfortable. I have no fucking idea. Maybe Bo Burnham, because I kind of look like him, but I'm like a foot shorter.
That's hilarious. That's a great call, actually.
And
That guy's crazy.
I think
talented, man.
I think
Wow.
he's really smart.
Really.
I think he's really funny.
I had never seen that thing he made during the pandemic, and I was staying with a friend of mine in Denver, and we watched that, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, Inside is like a work of art, man. That's like a wild.
Yeah, man. I don't even know what to say, really. There's all of it.
Really fucking depressing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, especially when you watch it now, looking back on that time, and you're like, man, like, the pandemic was hard enough. He really put himself through a lot more to make that.
Yeah, he descended into some madness for that one, and I'm,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to say like I applaud him for it, because it was probably insane, and like probably felt really bad. Seems like it did, but that's like it struck a deeper chord than anything else I've seen related to the pandemic, like art wise.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, he sort of like dresses it up in this like silly sing song, but it's like, holy shit, dude. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot in there. I mean, that's what makes it kind of so good, because you can really appreciate it on so many different levels.
Yeah, like the music is like,
Yeah, you can totally just take it in as just like kind of sheer entertainment, but also in the way that it's hard because of the way that he delivered it and shows kind of the behind the scenes stuff. And as he's showing it to you too, you're kind of like, man, it's heavy. Yeah.
yeah.
And knowing, living through the pandemic, you're like, okay, this was.
Yeah. So okay, that's a movie I've seen.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's a guy. I think I like his mannerisms. I sometimes identify with. I think he's funny as hell. And
Yeah,
he's a
super,
goofball.
super talented. Man, is there? I mean, anything else you want to say to people? That's all I have for you.
Oh man, I've said way too much. I've been yapping for hours. I
That's
don't
why
know.
we're here, man.
Have fun. Life is short. Fucking, we're lucky to be alive. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with it, man. I mean, dude, thank you.
Someone smile over there.
We very different kind of episode. Thank you for welcoming us into the studio, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
of
we've
course.
been doing this whole thing live from Birocratic's own studio
It
here in
got
Brooklyn,
dark.
New York. Yeah, no, sun went down. It's even the day is telling us to just wrap it up, guys.
I guess so.
And dude, I mean, thanks so much, man. I mean, I think there's just so much in this, just like the vulnerability, and like sharing the direction and the way that you kind of just holistically kind of zooming out and zooming in on everything you got going on and letting us kind of see through that. I think is just super informative and just fun.
Cool.
So
I hope so. Hope it's meaningful to anyone. Also, if anyone wants to like talk about this stuff directly, you can shoot me a DM.
there you go. At Birocratic on all socials.
Birocratic,
And check them out on Spotify. New music's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, thank you again, too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. This is a blast.
Yeah, this is so fun, man.
We've known each other for like, what is
Yeah.
it, like 7 years?
Yeah, it's been a minute. And like, this is the first day we've actually gotten to like kick it in person.
Yeah.
So, get out there and meet your internet friends. And yeah, this guy's been super just helpful along the way. So thank you, man, for everything.
At any time, dude. You're a great dude. And
Appreciate it, man.
I love every time we check in with each other, there's something exciting going on in the journey.
Yeah,
and
man.
I'm just like grateful to be together.
Yeah, likewise, man. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing the time. Everybody, this has been Toru. In a way, so are you. That concludes another episode of Producer Head. Peace.
Big thanks to Birocratic for inviting me into his studio, pulling back the curtain, and going deep. This conversation is a reminder that growth is not about shortcuts. It's about showing up, remaining curious, and building a life in support of your creativity. If this one hit for you, take a second to reflect on what kind of consistency you're really aiming for and what you might need to let go of to get there. Make sure you're subscribed at producerhead.substack.com to receive your 2 free production tools. The Invisible Instruments, a collection of ideas to help you in and out of the studio, as well as Sonic Stimulus Volume 1, a sample pack created entirely by me for the Producer Head community. Subscribe for free at producerhead.substack.com and receive the Invisible Instruments and Sonic Stimulus Volume 1 for free. All right, we will catch you in the next episode of Producer Head. This has been Toru, and in a way, so are you. Peace. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. This helps Producer Head find its place and its people. Without you, there is no Producer Head. Thanks again for tuning into Producer Head. Subscribe and join our community over at producerhead.substack.com so you never miss an episode. Substack subscribers receive exclusive access to the bi-weekly podium, curation of my favorite discoveries on and offline over the past week. You'll also get access to Producer Head Bars, where I share the best of what's been shared with me to help you and other producers in our community grow. The podium and Producer Head Bars are designed to provide immediate inspiration and direct application in your creative process. So, subscribe at producerhead.substack.com to receive real inspiration and ideas you can use to elevate your own process today. If you care for the craft, get your exclusive access at producerhead.substack.com. This episode was co-produced, engineered, and edited by Matthew Diaz. Big thank you to him from Producer Head. This is Toru, and in a way, so are you. Peace.